All right, so the first thing you want to do before you work on your scene, especially if you're working at the school's max, is make sure that you set your project. Okay, you should always do that regardless. All right, so I'm gonna go File, Set Project, and mine's right on the desktop. I'm just gonna work on that mech thing again. So it's mech. I'm gonna hit Set, and then I'll open, and then I'm gonna open the UV'd mech from before. Continue. All right. All right, so here it is. You guys have seen it before. Yay! All right. Now, after I get that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and basically just apply general materials to all these things that should have certain things applied to them, okay? So I'm going to make this one maybe green instead of yellow like it was before, okay? So, but there's a lot of parts here that I'm picturing that would be like chrome, like this here. I'm picturing would be kind of a chrome. So I'm going to have that selected, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Windows, Rendering Editors, Hypershade, okay? It's going to take a second to pop up. They actually rebuilt the whole Hypershade window as of 2016, which is kind of nice. And I am going to get rid of a bunch of this stuff. Alright, just so that there's not all this extra stuff here. Let's just delete. Okay. Alright. Right now, everything's just got the default Lambert gray applied to it, okay? So I'm going to, which I can probably snap this. There we go. This on this side. Okay. So, there it is. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just do the parts that I think are like chrome first. So I'm going to make a generic chrome material. So I'm going to go to Blend. All right, so Blend is a shiny material. There's that. And I'm just going to call this Chrome _MAT. And it's a chrome material. Color I'll leave as gray, transparency none, blah, 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 blah. Diffuse is fine. Specular color, I will, so you see right now it has a plane as my preview. It's not a really good preview, so I'm going to go up here and switch it to like maybe teapot, and that will give me a little bit better. We can also do shader ball. We'll do shader ball, I like that better. So specular color, I'm going to go ahead and put that up a little bit because I want it a little bit higher. It's just going to change the color of this. You can actually, I can make it weird and make it like red if I wanted. You can see the highlight becomes red, which is kind of strange, but also kind of cool. So I'm just going to click back to white here. Eccentricity, it's going to be really kind of tight, so I'm going to pull this like this. Okay, so I'm going to have it pretty tight. Specular roll-off is just how far it tries to push it. It kind of is the size of the specular highlight. So I'm going to put it up a little bit. Reflectivity is actually going to go up a bit too, because chrome is pretty reflective. Okay, so I'm going to call that good as far as the chrome's concerned. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start applying it to the things that I think would be chrome-like. Okay, so we'll say this and this and this. I'm going to say this as well. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to right-click and go Assign Material to Selection. And now these will have that material, which it may not be super obvious. I'm going to do this. See how these kind of have hard edges? More hard than I would like. I actually want this to be round. So I'm going to go to Mesh Display. I'm going to go to Set Normal Angle. And I'm going to change this to like 60 and hit Apply. And you can see now it's round where it should be round. And that looks a little bit better. All right. Let me check. I'm going to also do Viewport 2.0 because that might give me a bit better of a shine. Okay. See how now you can see the shine? Okay. So you can see it's not here though. All right, so I'm just going to go through and I'm going to, and I can, so that was one way. I can click on it and then right click, Assign Material Selection, and then that will assign it. Or I can middle mouse button, click, and drag it and drop it onto the materials as well, okay? You know what might make this even easier so I can see what I've already hit? So actually for now, I'm going to go ahead and change my color to like, let's say red. Oh, whoops, that was Lambert. Not that one. All right. We're going to put this back to mid-gray here, which is here. I meant the chrome. I'm going to select my chrome. I'm going to make that red. And that way, I know what I've already hit. And then afterwards, I'll turn it back to gray. But for now, I'm just going to make it red. So, it's like this. So I can do it like that. I can middle mouse button, click and drag it onto the things, okay, that I want to be chrome. And such. So, yeah. Trying to think if there's another way I could do it is I could just click over an object. I could right click and go to assign existing material and select chrome. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and add everything to chrome, and I'm gonna pause the video so I don't take as much time. Okay. So I added chrome to the parts I thought that should have chrome, and like I said, I just made it red just so I know what it is. Afterwards, I'm gonna change the color again. I'm gonna make another blend, and like that, and I'm gonna make this my we'll call it what do you call it? Painted steel. Painted steel. I'm gonna call it 01 because I'll probably have multiple ones of these. 01 underscore MAT for material. All right. Now I'm just gonna adjust some of these settings. I'm gonna take reflectivity all the way down. I don't want this reflective. Specular roll off. I'll take that down a bit. Eccentricity, I want to pull that kind of up a little bit, and I take the specular color down a whole bunch because I don't really want it very shiny to begin with, but it might have a little bit of shininess. And then lastly, color here, and I'm gonna go ahead and make it a I'm gonna make it kind of like a worker green, I guess I'm gonna call it. Make it a little less desaturated. Be careful about making anything too saturated; it doesn't look as good. Okay. So that looks okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna apply that to the things that I think should have that. So I'm gonna middle mouse button, click and drag over top of this, and you can see now that has that material. Now because I did that, another quicker way of kind of doing things, I can click on this, and because the last thing I did was assign a color, if I just hit, oops, never mind. I'm gonna right click and go. I'm sorry, I'm gonna right click on this and go assign material selection. This will actually work better. Now I can just hit G, because it was the last thing I did. So I'll go G, 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 G. Oops, not that one. G, G. And I'm going to pause the video, and I'm just going to apply this to everything I think that should have that. Okay? All right, so the next material I'm going to apply is, I'm picturing like a brushed metal on some of these things. So to do that, it's going to be an anisotropic. So I'm going to click on anisotropic, and I'm just going to call this brushed metal. Actually, we'll call it brushed aluminum, which doesn't make any sense because these things are all weight bearing. But all the same, we're going to call it brushed aluminum. And so then I'll take my specular color. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. I could change the angle of how I want this to go. I'm going to kind of keep it there. We'll keep that spread okay. Yeah, I'm actually mostly okay with what this is. Roughness. I want it to be kind of rough, actually. We'll leave that there. Reflectivity, I'm picturing this not being very reflective. Maybe a very small amount. Yeah, that should be good. So now I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to apply this to all the things I think that should be brushed metal. So I have I'm going to select this here, and I'll select this one as well. And I'm just going to do right-click, assign material selection, and you can see it looks a little different now. Okay? And I'm going to apply that to all the things that I believe should have brushed metal. Okay? So I'm going to pause it again, and then, we'll go on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make all the rest of my materials and apply them. That way you aren't sitting through each one of these. But basically, just make a new material for each one of the things that you should have. Okay? All right, so now at this point, I've got all my materials applied to everything. Okay, so a lot of these are sharing the same material. See, I don't actually have that many. Like this and this are obviously the same material. Okay, so, but what I want to do, well, one of the issues is this, though. And obviously, all this green is the same as this green. What you're going to notice is if I go to UV and then UV editor, you're going to see that, let me make this a little bit smaller so it's a little easier to tell, that if I have this piece, you see it here, and then I have this piece, see this here? They're overlapping. Okay, so what that means is that eventually we're going to make like we're going to paint in 3D, but it's actually painting a 2D texture map. What's going to happen is, pieces that are painted here are going to show up on both of these, okay? Which is no good because then you're going to have this weird, like, you paint in one area and it's also painting in another area, and it'll be compounded once you see all these. I mean, they're all on top of each other, okay? So we need to fix that. So the easiest way to fix that, instead of trying to grab all the pieces that are that color, well, the easiest way to do it is to do this. I just grab the pieces and I push this button up here, and what that'll do is it'll relay them out and make them all fit. And that's fine, but I don't want to have to go through and let me do this real quick. I don't have to go through and select every one of those. The easiest way to go about doing it is actually just to grab them by the material. So for instance, I'll grab this black plastic material I made, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click over top of it and go select objects with material. and then it's going to select all the objects that currently have that material. Okay, you see they're overlapping. Now I will click this, and that will organize all of them into those pieces. Then I'll go to the next one. I'm going to right click over top of it, assign objects with material. Shows me all the ones with that material. I'll hit this little button here. Boom. Now they're all laid out. And I'm going to go right down the line right here. Already did that one, must be. Or maybe there's only one thing with it. All right. Then I'll go to this one. Select objects with material. And then I am going to hit this, and it will organize them. Okay. Select objects with material. I did not actually select it. I was just still had the other one selected. Boom. And right down the line. So I'm going to pause it and just go through and do that all the way through. Now I have all the things with their various materials. You can see like now they're only taking pieces, but you can see how when I select all these together, they're starting to fit in this whole little part here. Okay, so all the green materials will fit inside of this one UV space, which is what we were looking for. So that's really good. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to save this, right? So I'm just Control Shift S, and you save it as the next version. I'm just going to hit Control S because I just saved it a second ago, but I will save it, and that's good. And so the materials are now set up. Okay. Now what I need to do after this is basically bring it into Mudbox and paint it. All right. So to send it to Mudbox, what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. All right. And I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to hit Control. Actually, yeah, I'll hit Control G just to make it one group to make things a little bit easier. I'm going to open up the channel box, and I'm just going to call this Geo_GRP. So it's all one piece. And now I have that selected, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, and you go to Send to Mudbox, Send as new scene. And what it's going to do, and this is pretty awesome, it's actually going to, you can see down here saying Export Geometry. It uses FBX, which is a sort of a generic-y file format that Autodesk has developed in order to share files between their various, you can see it right down here, FBX logs, the various file formats. It also, like when visually, eventually when you go into game design, it will show up in the game design as well. That's how we export out stuff to Unity. But you'll see it's automatically going to load up Mudbox. I actually haven't opened up Mudbox yet, so I actually just installed it, so it might give me some weird thing about my license. We'll see. But you see, it automatically knows how to pop it up. Now, when this window comes up, you see set my mouse and keyboard interaction to Mudbox. Switch that to Maya. You already know Maya. It'll be much easier. The Mudbox isn't going to help you. And then the rest of it's fine. You hit OK. And it's automatically going to open this up. Now, it might not ask you to do that if someone's already used it, but if it does, you know what to do. And whatever. I don't care about showing this again. All right. So now it's busy importing it. So it's saying that basically I have a high valence. Basically, remember I was talking about stars and poles. I have a couple that have a lot of edges on there. I'm just going to say keep all. It might cause some issues as far as painting is concerned. I obviously must have did some poor painting or poor modeling. But it's going to go through. It's going to bring all this in. And then I'll hit, I don't want this to show again, and hit OK. That's great. OK. And then there it is. All right. So I'm obviously running into one issue where the one arm is not showing up. So I have got to fix that. So basically what I did is I was like, oh, it's not showing up here. One of the things that happens, and you may have noticed that happens in Maya, but doesn't work in here. Watch what happens when I go inside my model. So you can't really tell. Basically, when I go into a face, they're one-sided, which means basically you can only see them from one side. What's happening here is that the arm is here, but it's inside out. If you look at my Maya file, you will see, like when I click on these, see my scale says -1, because basically what I did in order to make the other sides, I just duplicated it, scaled it -1, and had it placed over here. So basically, in a sense, these are all inside out. So what I need to do is click and drag over everything, go modify freeze transformations, which might give it a heart attack. It did not. And let me just see, make sure these are all good. I'm actually going to close out of Mudbox. Don't save. And I'm going to try that again. File. I'm going to have this click up to get the group. And I'm going to go send to Mudbox, send this new scene. I'm going to pause it this time so I don't waste time. Now, because I freeze the transforms, which made it not a scale -1, you'll see that the arm actually came in fine, which is great. You also will notice that there's this weird little red dot. That means that there's an error there. There's something that could be fixed. Normally I would suggest fixing it, but in this case I'm just going to kind of roll with it. But next we're just going to paint it.